Tonight, the Supreme Court of Canada will hear an appeal of Saskatchewan's pronoun policy at schools. A SAS Party convention proposal is catching criticism from the NDP. And Real is searching again for a new CEO.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. The Supreme Court says it will hear appeals in a challenge of the Saskatchewan government's school pronoun law. The law prevents children under the age of 16 from changing their pronouns or names at school without the consent of their parents. Premier Scott Moe's government invoked the Charter's notwithstanding clause in the 2023 legislation. A Regina LGBTQ2S+ group says the rule causes irreparable harm to gender diversity youth. The government argues parents should be involved in their children's decisions at school. Now, earlier this year, the Saskatchewan Court of Appeal ruled the group's challenge could continue.
It's good. We asked for them to hear the appeal, and they're going to hear it. So we'll see what the result of that is.
Section 33 is there for that elected government to exercise with their discretion to allow them to pass laws that may otherwise be in contravention of charter rights. It's not there for judicial interpretation. It's there for democratic use.
Both sides of the challenge are asking the Supreme Court to hear the case alongside a challenge of a Quebec law that prevents public sector workers from wearing religious symbols on the job, given Quebec also invoked the notwithstanding clause on that policy. A hearing date has not been set at this point. UR Pride said in a statement this marks the beginning of a national conversation that will make history. Saskatchewan is negotiating with the federal government on extending the $10 a day childcare program.
We want to make sure that we make some improvements on the existing deals. So the current child care agreements brought a number of benefits to families, to communities, and to the entire child care sector. But we identified in terms of some of the feedback that we've been hearing from people, some changes that need to be made. So we're trying to negotiate those, and I won't get into a lot of the finer details, but just as an example, like one of the things I'd asked about was for kids that turn age 6 and technically age out of the program, it's different here than it is in, say, for example, Manitoba, where their age out is at age 7. So that was kind of a common sense thing as one example that we wanted to get changed, but there's some other things there that we think would benefit Saskatchewan families and the child.
Education Minister Everett Hindley says he had a virtual meeting with the minister responsible for the file, Patty Haydu, on Friday, and is now confident that they can get an extension signed by the end of the calendar year. The current agreement is set to expire at the end of March. Saskatchewan Party will vote this weekend on a proposal restricting full party membership to Canadian citizens. It would exclude those with permanent residency from voting on party matters. The change would align with election voting eligibility, but opposition critics call it discriminatory. Wayne Mantika reports.
A change in party membership rules will be one of the more controversial topics debated this weekend when the Saskatchewan Party holds its annual convention in Saskatoon. If passed, only Canadian citizens could vote on matters like party candidate selection and leadership.
It's mirroring and aligning with Election Saskatchewan on who can vote in an election in the province.
The Premier doesn't know what prompted the proposal or if he will support it.
This is a motion that comes from the grassroots of the very party. It's not a motion that myself or any elected member really brings, and I can be thankful that we do have a grassroots.
The party also proposes to restrict decision-making to those of voting age. The NDP was quick to offer an opinion.
Especially when people come to this province and they call this place their home. And when they are wanted to involve at grassroots level politics, I think that will be really discouraging.
Scott Moe will also face his first leadership review since the Saskatchewan Party won the 2024 election with a reduced majority. Moe says he would like to stay on as leader through the next election.
It's my intent, and that's my intent to certainly, work as hard as ever, not only with the MLAs that we have here and candidates in the lead up to the next election, but to work hard with, so many volunteers across the province, many that are going to be at our convention this weekend, and we're looking forward to it.
A Saskatchewan Party leader needs 50% support in order to retain their position. But in practice, it's generally higher than that. With anything less than overwhelming support, a leader would have to make their own decision on whether to stay or go, although there could be added leeway coming off an election win. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
Well, after just 5 months on the job, the CEO of the Regina Exhibition Association Limited has left the organization. Rick Bennett joined REAL as the president and CEO back in June, taking over for interim CEO Trent Fraser. Now, Fraser will once again lead the organization on a temporary basis, with Bennett stepping away from what REAL says are personal and family reasons. The search for a new president and CEO will begin early next year. Joins us for our first look at weather, and no need to search for precipitation today. We saw it in the form of rain, and some areas of Saskatchewan saw it in the form of snow.
Yeah, the Parkland saw the snow today. Saskatoon seeing some snow. The other parts of southern Saskatchewan did see it in the form of rain, as you can see on the radar satellite behind me. More snow further north of this rain system that you're seeing, and of course in the Parkland seeing a mix of that precipitation. Now, things are going to change as we head into tomorrow, and more areas in the south can expect to see some snow. Now, depending on where you are in the south, like areas like Swift Current could see the heaviest amount of snowfall coming through. I'll have more of those details coming up. Current temperatures still above zero for many areas, especially that southwest corner. Here in Regina, we climbed to about 12 degrees late this afternoon. The average daytime high is 3 degrees, and we are going to inch closer to that as we inch closer to this weekend. I'll have all those details coming up in your forecast. Lee?
All right, thank you, Sabine. One man is dead after an incident at a facility in Assiniboia. On November the 1st, RCMP received a report of an assault after an altercation between two individuals. A man was taken to hospital but did die from his injuries on November the 3rd. RCMP are investigating the circumstances around the altercation, with the coroner's service investigating cause of death. So far, no charges have been laid. Families, supporters, and onlookers packed a Regina courtroom today for the bail hearing of a man accused of manslaughter and other gun charges. Chris Fallman made an appearance over video call and learned his bail hearing is still moving through the process. He is back in court on Friday afternoon. Fallman is being charged in the Highway 39 shooting death of Tanya Myers on September the 12th. Moose Jaw police have arrested two men with drug trafficking charges after a traffic stop for impaired driving on November the 5th led to a search of the vehicle. Police found 61.2 grams of fentanyl, 2.4 grams of methamphetamine, around $1,800 in cash, a knife, and drug paraphernalia. A 38-year-old man and 26-year-old man are facing charges of trafficking fentanyl, methamphetamine, and possession of property obtained by crime. They made their first court appearances this morning. A nearly 20-year investigation of how and who killed 19-year-old Misha Pavlik has left people with questions surrounding what happened the night he died. About 3 weeks ago, the trial for a man accused of second-degree murder of Pavlik's death began. And with the trial slowly coming to a close, Sierra D'Souza Butts tells us the timeline of events and how the number of people involved played a role into this lengthy investigation.
Over the last 3 weeks, jury members have heard from over 30 witnesses recalling different recollections of the night Misha Pavlik died nearly 20 years ago. On May 21st, 2006, around 200 people attended a high school graduation party held at a campground near Last Mountain Lake. Throughout the trial, court has heard a group of uninvited guests arrived at the party. Among the group, the man accused of Pavlik's death, who can't be named as he was a youth at the time. He was joined by Scott Nelson, Andrew Perkins, and Pavlik's ex-girlfriend at the time, who also can't be named due to her age. Perkins and Pavlik's ex were dating, according to various testimony. While Pavlik was having a conversation with his ex-girlfriend, he allegedly hit Perkins with a glass bottle, starting a fight. Witnesses in the trial said they saw Pavlik being kicked in the head and body by a group of young men. At that point, witnesses say they didn't think Pavlik had been stabbed, but knew he was hurt. In the various fights that broke out that night, another young man was stabbed by Nelson and taken to the hospital that same evening. Nelson was later charged and pleaded guilty to aggravated assault in that case. It's unclear exactly which fight was when the stabbing took place, but Pavlik was pronounced dead by responding police at around 1 a.m. After the group of uninvited guests left the campground, they met at Regina Beach. The accused was seen by a few few witnesses who say he seemed excited and bragged about stabbing someone. However, he showed no blood on his clothes. Jurors heard that Nelson and the accused's cousin were also cheerful. After leaving Regina Beach to go back to the city, witnesses say the accused was acting erratic, pulling the car to the side of the highway and running out of the vehicle. When finally arriving in the city, the group met in a parking lot, most hearing word that someone who was stabbed at the party had died. The accused, along with another witness, went to his home that night after dropping everyone else off at their homes. The Crown and the defense are expected to give closing arguments Monday morning. After that, the judge will give instructions to the jury before deliberations begin. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
The SJHL's Humboldt Broncos unfortunately know all too well how important blood donation is to help save lives. That's why they are teaming up for an off-ice national campaign to encourage people to donate. Stacey Hine has more.
These hockey players don't just have ice in their veins. The Humboldt Broncos are taking part in the Fall Get Together Challenge, a national campaign that encourages group blood donations. And this team is turning it into a fun way to bond off the ice.
The unique team bonding, we don't get to do much off the ice, so I think this is something that really gets the guys together.
It's awesome. Seeing all the guys' different reactions to it is pretty funny and it makes a good time.
The Broncos head coach says, along with team building, it's a way to honor the life-saving role blood donation played after the 2018 bus crash.
There were so many people that helped out during that crash time that we got to do our part now, you know, and it's no matter what, that's never going to change.
Blood donation has become a tradition the Broncos proudly continue.
It's such a privilege to play for the Broncos, and this is a big tradition, especially after the 2018 team and that tragedy. So I think it's really important to honor those guys and represent our organization in that sense.
Canadian Blood Services says the team's donation helps inspire others to give blood, something that's vital in saving lives.
There is no substitute for blood. Donated blood only lasts 42 days. So imagine going to your fridge and needing your fridge refilled. That's the way it is. But the difference is patients' lives depend on this. So we have to have blood.
CBS says about 5,000 appointments need to be filled each month in Saskatchewan to meet hospital demand, and is encouraging the public to consider donating. And for anyone feeling nervous, one player says there's nothing to worry about.
They make it pretty comforting here, and it doesn't cause any nerves at all.
Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan NDP held a reception to honor Brenda Reynolds, the recipient of the United Nations Nelson Mandela Prize. Reynolds is the first Indigenous person and first Canadian to be awarded the prize. The award is given to 2 recipients every 5 years. Reynolds is a social worker and had a major role in the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement.
To help people understand what the psychological effects are from cultural genocide is really important. And when I see people change as a result of them understanding what their experiences were and making sense of that and how it helps with their change, but also importantly helps with their own families' change.
This prize was actually awarded back on July 18th, which is Nelson Mandela's birthday. Well, exciting time for the Hospitals of Regina Foundation as tonight the early bird draw is held for their home lottery. With more, we go to CTV Saskatchewan Emperor J.C. Garden, who's live at the HRF show home with the draw. J.C.
Thank you so much for my ever-evolving title, Lee. And yes, a very exciting night here. I'm here with Dino Sophocleus, the president and CEO of the Hospitals of Regina Foundation, and Reagan Exner, pardon me, Reagan, with MNP. And before we get to Dino, we're going to talk to you, Reagan, to walk us through tonight's draw and how everything will unfold.
Sure. Thanks, JC. MNP is pleased to be the ticket fulfillment and draw control service provider for the Hospitals of Regina Foundation Fall 2025 Home Lottery. As approved by the Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming Authority, the draw for the Early Bird Prize to be announced today was carried out earlier at the offices of MNP and overseen by a representative of the foundation. All tickets sold prior to the early bird sales deadline of October 24th were included in the draws. So good luck, everybody.
All right, thank you so much. And Dino, very exciting to be here in a lottery that we're awarding a great prize tonight, a trip to Australia and an Audi or $110,000 in cash, but also the grand prize and many other things to be awarded to.
Absolutely. So our final deadline is November 14th. Get your tickets by then, and you're in for this magnificent house. It's the most valuable prize we've ever given out, and it comes with $50,000 cash. And of course, the 50-50, it's just shy of $1 million, and it's climbing quickly. We're almost 90% sold, so now is the time. And of course, tonight we're giving the early bird prize out.
All right. Well, we have the winner to reveal tonight, so let's take a look again. We'll be whoever's the winner will win that trip to Australia and an Audi or $110,000 in cash. And Regan, you've got the envelope. We'll hand it over to Dino, and let's see who the winner is.
So the early bird prize winner out in Australia, or $110,000 in cash, is ticket number 10017674, and the lucky winner is Dorian Pillar of Balcony. Congratulations.
All right, I'll read that one more time. That is ticket number 10017674, Dorian Pillar of Balgony. Congratulations. You're either $110,000 richer, or you're going on a trip of a lifetime plus, driving around a new Audi. So, Dino, before we go, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, huge thanks to everyone out there for their support. Huge thanks to CTV for doing this for us tonight. And of course, once again, November 14th is our final deadline. Tickets are going fast. Now is the time. And huge thanks to this community. Their support is phenomenal.
Absolutely. What are you waiting for? This is the largest, most valuable grand prize in the history of this lottery. It's a beautiful home, plus $50,000 in cash. HRFHomeLottery.com to get your tickets. Thank you so much, Dino and Lee. I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, it's a nice chance to go to Aussie and Australia and an Audi. That's very tempting. I wonder what she'll choose. Thanks a lot, JC. All right. Before we go, nominations are now open for the Regina Citizen of the Year Award that is presented by CTV. So it is given each year to an individual who exemplifies excellence in community service and is making a difference in our community. And to find out how to nominate that special someone, guides are available at CTV Regina on our website. The deadline to submit your nomination, Friday, December the 5th. That's Friday, December the 5th, the deadline. We will announce this year's recipient on December the 31st. Still ahead, how the U.S. government shutdown could impact Canadian travelers. Plus, the Supreme Court of Canada denies an appeal by a BC ostrich farm to keep the animals alive.
We will never forget your bravery, your strength, your sacrifice.
The very best and bravest of our nation, these heroic souls stood on guard for freedom.
Join the CTV News team and me as Canada comes together to remember.
Remembrance Day 2025, Tuesday morning at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on CTV.
A vote of confidence being held right now in the House of Commons on this week's federal budget. It appears we already know what is going to happen, though. A vote is on a conservative sub-amendment to the budget, but the minority Liberal government will not fall after the NDP said this afternoon it would vote against this motion. The New Democrats said the Tories want massive cuts to public spending and call the sub-amendment irresponsible. Meanwhile, a Bloc Québécois amendment that also calls for the House to reject the budget will be voted on tomorrow. The NDP says it is still studying that one. Well, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago are among 40 American cities slashing airline capacity, the result of a government shutdown that's now the longest in U.S. history. As CTV Heather Wright tells us, it could impact Canadian travelers as well.
It's a standard Thursday at Canada's largest airport, but travelers are bracing for turbulence.
It's really unfortunate.
Transportation officials in the United States plan to slash air traffic by 10% at 40 major airports, including New York, Washington, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Reductions set to begin Friday. The Federal Aviation Administration and U.S. Transportation Department say traffic reduction is necessary to ease pressure on air traffic controllers and security screening agents who have been working without pay during the 36-day U.S. government shutdown.
If I was working, I sure as hell wouldn't want to be working without any pay.
This has worsened staff shortages caused widespread flight delays and long security lines at American airports. And since many Canadian travelers are bound for U.S. destinations, both passengers and carriers here are expected to feel the pinch.
They're not exempt from this reduction. They will be affected by it. And the question is going to be, what does that mean?
WestJet says so far their operations have not been impacted. We are continuing to monitor the situation and proactively manage our operations to minimize any potential disruptions going forward. While Air Canada says we are monitoring the situation and awaiting more details. Adding, for customers who may be connecting onto U.S. domestic flights operated by our partner United Airlines, we have put in place a goodwill policy to allow them to change or defer their travel with no change fee. Experts warn even domestic flights could be impacted. For example, a flight from Toronto to Vancouver spends about half of its flight in U.S. airspace. Now, carriers could opt to fly through Canadian skies to avoid any disruptions, but that would add another hour to the length of that flight. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
In Washington, D.C., Donald Trump says his administration will have to come up with a plan B if the Supreme Court rules against the tariffs that are going against Canada and other countries.
We thought we did very well yesterday. We hope that we did. I think it would be devastating for our country, but I also think that we'll have to develop a Game 2 plan. We'll see what happens. The numbers we have...
Now, if the court rejects the tariffs, the U.S. president says he has plenty of other options. He can reuse tariff powers deployed in his first term, or he could cite a section of the Trade Act that allows the United States to counter what it sees as unfair trade practices. Earlier this year, 2 lower courts and a federal appeal court ruled that the emergency law Trump invoked doesn't give him unlimited powers to set tariffs. The healthcare workers that work alongside registered nurses in Alberta have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike if no collective agreement is reached there.
Their withdrawal of services would impact the healthcare system altogether and the ability of Albertans to receive the care that they need.
The president of the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees says 98% of members voted in support of a strike mandate. He says workers are tired of stagnant wages and unsafe working conditions. The results have not yet been certified by the Alberta Labour Relations Board, but the earliest the union could serve a 72-hour strike notice is November the 17th. The Supreme Court of Canada has dismissed an appeal by a BC ostrich farm to stop a cull ordered to euthanize its flock. The decision ends a months-long legal road for that farm that has since sparked a debate over accusations of government overreach. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
You want to know what pain looks like, Canada? The end of a saga that began last December when dozens of birds died on the Universal Ostrich Farm. She's going to lose everything she's ever loved for 35 years. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency found traces of H5N1 in 2 dead birds and ordered the flock to be culled to contain the virus. The farm fought the order to the Supreme Court, which dismissed the case.
We obviously are pleased to see the decision of the Supreme Court. This is a decision that is following the science and evidence.
More than 300 birds will now be euthanized. Virologists say testing the birds is not an option.
There's really no practical way to actually test these birds. We don't know where the birds might be shedding virus if they are indeed still infected. These are 7 to 9 foot tall birds that are very strong, very fast, very dangerous to people.
Under the Health of Animals Act, the CFIA can now move ahead with depopulation and disposal and warns that attempts to obstruct the work of its officers could result in prosecution. Dozens of protesters continue their march.
Today you test our faith like you've never tested our faith before.
Praying for a change of heart. The farm was supported by members of the Trump administration, including Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Chief of Medicare Dr. Mehmet Oz. An American billionaire also contributed $50,000 to the farm's legal fight and is asking Prime Minister Mark Carney to intervene.
I am asking for sympathy and I'm asking for common sense to prevail.
This culling of poultry or stamping out policy that the CFIA is carrying out is an international standard that numerous nations have signed on to, including the U.S. The aim is to contain outbreaks. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Still ahead, Stock Dogs take over the Westland Arena in Yorkton. More on the K9 Commanders after the break.
Green is the color. West Final is the game. Friday on Your Morning, we are teeing up the Riders' home playoff game against the BC Lions with Rough Rider historian Rob Vanstone.
Welcome back. Let's get into your forecast for this evening and what's to come heading into the weekend. Not too bad of a day in the Queen City. Did warm up quite nicely to about 12 degrees late this afternoon. But then over the last couple of hours, the winds also picked up, gusting up to about 55 just last hour. The winds have since gotten a little better. Currently sitting at just close to 25, but gusting at about 35 right now. And temperature currently sitting at 5 degrees. Now, as we head into the evening, we will continue to see those temperatures drop, and this is what we have seen over the last couple of hours. So Saskatoon certainly seeing the snow. The Parkland was also dealing with some snow, and Regina and other areas further in the south dealing more so with some of that rain. Now that system is going to slowly transition into snow. So heading into later this evening, I'll actually just show you right now. Heading into later this evening, we'll eventually start to see that system making its way further into the south, kind of directing more towards the southeast, as you can see. Yorkton continuing to see that snowfall, as will Regina. Now, it's not heavy snowfall, more like some flurries, light snow throughout the night. By tomorrow morning, when your day starts, for many, we won't see that snow falling. We'll be left with cloudier conditions. However, you can see that system coming in from the southwest again. Maple Creek starting with some rain, freezing rain. So certainly make sure you're keeping an eye on the highway hotline with road conditions with that system. And then eventually more of that snow coming through the Swift Current area. By tomorrow evening, we could, in the Regina area, possibly see a little bit more snow. Again, light snow, scattered flurries. It's primarily looking like Swift Current's going to see the bulk of that snowfall. And I'll show you that coming up in your total snowfall totals. But as you can see, by first thing Saturday morning, that system clears, leaving us starting the day with cloudier conditions, eventually clearing, leaving us with mainly sunny conditions and clear conditions for much of the day. Heading into the evening, continuing to see mostly clear conditions for most of southern Saskatchewan. And then when we get into Sunday, we'll see a little bit more of that cloud cover start to roll in. Temperatures, yes, that is a story that we'll talk about coming up shortly. But overall, again, we'll see that system, that always deletes on me, that we'll eventually see this system clear out by Saturday. So by Sunday afternoon, the heaviest rainfall or snowfall expected is in the Swift Current area. In and around Swift Current, could see up to about 11 centimeters of snow. 6 expected for the Moose Jaw area. Regina could see about 2 centimeters of snow, and parts of the southeast also seeing in and around the 2-3 centimeters snowfall. Now that doesn't mean right in Regina we're going to see 2 centimeters. It could be a little less. It could be a little more. Same with the Swift Current area, up to about that 11 centimeters. Could be a little bit less or more right in Swift Current, but in that surrounding area, we could see up to about 11 centimeters. Temperatures, though, much cooler than seasonal. Now, again, for reference, the average usually is hovering around 3 or 4 degrees. We will be below 0 tomorrow. -7 for Prince Albert and La Loche, -6 for Lloydminster and La Ronge, -3 in snow for Saskatoon, cloudy, -5 for North Battleford, Yorkton, -4. The southwest, warmer than seasonal, 8 degrees in rain for Maple Creek, 1 for Swift Current with a mixed precipitation, 2 in snow for Moose Jaw, the southeast, seeing the similar temperatures to what our average normally is. For us here, Regina tonight, -3, light snow, winds picking up to 50 with -1 tomorrow as our daytime high, and light flurries expected throughout the day. And here's a look at your next 7 days. So again, -1 tomorrow. Yes, Saturday, it is -5. We will have sunnier conditions at kickoff, feeling closer to about -12. We'll be a little chilly, but no snow expected. The winds are looking like they'll be okay as well. By Sunday, we see a gradual warm up, a little, -3, still sunny. And then by your week, the start of your week next week, Monday, 9 degrees expected, 6 windy on Tuesday, up to 60 kilometers an hour winds, and then 5 degrees Wednesday, 3 back into that seasonal range for Thursday. So we're going to kind of see 2 extremes heading into the weekend, below seasonal, then warming up above seasonal by Monday, and then by midweek next week, back into that seasonal range.
And what I got from you on the snow in Regina be about 2 centimeters, or it could be more than 2 centimeters, or it could be less. Thanks, Bean. Canadian Western Agribition is set to take over the Real District in a few weeks with many fan favorites events like the rodeo, the stock dogs. Fans got a taste of the stock dog competition actually this week at the Yorkton Annual Harvest Showdown. Regina has the details.
This is not a stock dog. This one is. And the canine is competing at Yorkton's Harvest Showdown.
I would, by the time you get to open, you got 2-3 years of training on the dog, and you should be ready to compete at that level.
So what makes the good stock dog?
So they have what we call quiet power, where there's a conversation going on between the dog and the stock just through eye contact and body movement and gestures that the dog is establishing. I'm the predator, you're the prey. When I say move, start moving.
Initially, Vermette looked at the dogs as tool, but then he wanted to show them off.
It's more of a, let's say, a bragging competition, and which is how dog trials started in Scotland. It was, a couple guys sitting in the pub, and I got the best dog, and they're like, okay, prove it, bring him to town, let's see.
Now it's become a serious sport. At the Harvest Showdown cattle trial, the dogs needed to herd livestock into a pen in under 3 minutes.
Yeah, it looks great. The team set up the panels, and we have the stock waiting to come into the arena, and I think it'll be a good show. Lots of competitors came out today, so yeah, looking forward to it.
The stock dog competition is just one of the many events taking place at the Harvest Showdown.
What we like to say about Harvest Showdown is that there's something for everyone. We have dogs, we have horses, we have cattle. I think that this really draws a crowd. There are people that love to see this stuff run, and we're just happy to put it on and support our community here.
The competition continues on Friday, while the showdown runs until Saturday, capping off with a barn dance Saturday night. Regina, CTV News, Yorkton.
Coming up, for just the 4th time in the last half a century, the Riders are hosting the CFL Western Final.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
On the final full day of practice, a lot of injured players are available to return for the Western Final, including Roland Milligan Jr., Dante Myers. Receiver Keyshawn Johnson is considered questionable, while DN Shane Ray and running back Mario Anderson are the only players that are really deemed out for Saturday. Donovan Mace has more on the Western Final and having it right here in Saskatchewan.
It's a rare occurrence for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to earn hosting privileges for the Western Division Final.
Need a touchdown.
And it hasn't happened since 2019.
Fajardo, end zone, off the upright, dead ball, and the Bombers have won the Western Final.
Only a handful of players from 6 years ago are on today's roster, including Micah Johnson.
That was crazy. Not a lot of good memories, man. It's one of those ones that'll stick with you. It's like, thinking about the championships you won. A lot of times you're thinking about the ones you should have won.
Also playing in that game is now rider Jamarcus Hardrick, who was on the other sideline that year.
It was very cold. Silent count was horrible. Fans gave them all they need, and it came down to the wire.
Hosting the division final in front of the 13th man is not something this team is taking lightly.
Having our crowd behind us, and the Riderville, we know they're going to come out and show out, and that's the goal.
It's huge. People got to play in the elements, got to play with the best fans in the CFL, and face that too. So they're not only facing us 12, but they're facing the 13th man.
An environment even the opponent knows creates a challenge.
Weather, it's always been a mindset. Both teams have to play in it. We have had the nice weather here, but we're looking forward to it. We've came a long way this year, and it's an opportunity for us to go out there and play in front of a great crowd.
These games, ultimately, it's going to come down to our fan base and how loud they can get, and how consistent they are with that throughout the game.
Now, one team will snap a long Grey Cup drought on Saturday. The Riders haven't been to the big game since 2013, and the Lions since 2011. The good news, since 2019, the Riders are 2-0 in home playoff games, winning the West semifinal in 2021 and in 2024. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
The CFL Western Final, not the only big game in Saskatchewan on Saturday. For the second straight year, the U of S Huskies will host the U of R Rams in the Hardy Cup.
Turner's kick is up. Oh, it's the upright! Oh, my goodness! The Regina Rams are going to the Hardy Cup Final as
Well, that was the moment that sent the Rams to the Hardy Cup after a thrilling double overtime victory over the Manitoba Bisons. Rams searching for their third Hardy Cup title and second in a row after they beat the Huskies last year on their own turf, 19-14.
We're really focused in on just winning this week, and to go win back-to-back Hardy Cup, something that's never been done before, would be big for us, and that's the new standard we've set for our program, is to be in this game every year, and we're happy to be here, but we're not satisfied yet. We got to come out the win and then get ready for the Mitchell Bowl the following week.
Being in this game from last year, I know that it's gonna come down to little plays. Gonna have to be detailed sound, and it's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be good.
Huskies won their only meeting this season in Saskatoon. The Rams will be without the top offensive weapon. Running back Marshall Erickson suffered a season-ending injury last week. Kickoff is 2 p.m. at Griffith Stadium. Western Hockey League has suspended Swift Current Broncos head coach Dean DeSilva pending an investigation related to the WHL standards of conduct during an on-ice practice. Now, this is the second time in the last 2 years a Broncos coach has been suspended for an incident at practice. Assistant coach Regan Darby will lead the group until further notice, and it was a rough start to that last night in Brandon.
Move on Hawker and pivots up the far wall. Across for Hadland. Back to Jacobson. He holds it, fires, scores!
Wheat King scored 4 in the first, 4 more in the second to a 9-4 victory over the Broncos. Swift Current hasn't won a game in regulation in their last 6. Broncos' next game is Friday night at home against Calgary.
Hard pass left circle. Brown looking back door. McKenzie scores!
And speaking of Calgary, they fell 6-2 last night in Moose Jaw. Pavel McKenzie had a pair of goals for the Warriors. Matthew LaJoy and Aiden Ziprick, 3 points each. Warriors now sit at the 500 mark, 6th place in the conference. They'll travel to Saskatoon on Friday. And at the Canadian Mixed Curling Championships down in Assiniboia, Jason Ackerman's Saskatchewan rink has advanced to the championship pool. Today, they did lose to BC by a score of 11-5. That dropped their record to 5-2, tied for 3rd. They will play 4-3 Nova Scotia tonight.
Still ahead, bridge infrastructure took center stage today at the SARM convention.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your rural forecast for tomorrow. So we're going to continue to see this low pressure system come through, bringing with it mostly snow, a little bit of rain if you're further south. And as you can see, some areas will start to clear out of it, like Hudson Bay tomorrow, -7, but mostly cloudy. Well, nothing but clouds for Melfort, -7. And then you can see snow for Kindersley, -1, +1 for Outlook with some light flurries, and a little bit of a mix of snow and rain for the Watrous area at -3, cloudy for Wynyard, -4, and then a little cooler up in Spiritwood with mostly cloudy conditions, -8. When we get closer to the southern border, that's where we're going to see heavier snowfall come through in particular areas like Assiniboia, +2, Rockland, +1. East and Cypress could see mixed precipitation at +6 as the expected high. But then over in the southeast, -1 for Carlisle, -2 for Broadview, -5 for Kenora with mostly cloudy conditions. And even just pointing out in Maple Creek, it's rain and +8. So mixed precipitation expected tomorrow. For Hague tomorrow, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel, Hague could see some snow continuing tonight up to about a centimeter. Tomorrow left with mostly cloudy conditions. -6 is the expected daytime high. Could feel closer to about -12 with the winds up to 30 kilometers an hour.
Well, today was day 2 of the midterm convention for the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities, and bridge maintenance was one of the more popular topics. Damian Smith has more.
It's day 2 of the midterm convention for SARM. A big concern is the lifeline of bridges in the province, where SARM believes that 81% of bridges in rural areas will need replacing within the next 10 years. The association notes geography plays a factor, but it's not all to blame.
A lot of municipalities have gone to low-level crossings in the last number of years and large diameter culverts, and as inflation keeps affecting our cost of doing things, you know, bridges have become pretty expensive.
There are more than 1,400 bridges across RMs in the province, and the north end of Division 1 as well as all of Division 4 are the areas that SARM believes it can improve the most in. Included in Division 4 is RM number 457, the municipality of Connaught.
We're a hub it's agricultural. It's a farming community.
With a population of 492 people, the municipality has more than 40 bridges and 70 culverts, ranking second amongst municipalities in the province.
We have the Carrot River, we have the Doghide, we have major water flowing through just up in that northeast. We have a lot of maintenance, and we're at the end of lifespan on a lot of our bridges.
Even with the rural integrated roads for growth, where communities can receive up to $1 million for bridge and culvert projects, Seymour notes that the cost of these projects are not minimal. Bridge number 42 in the RM is due in 3 weeks from now, which is expected to cost approximately $1.4 million.
Some of this is red tape bureaucracy. Department of Fisheries, Oceans and Fisheries has gotten involved, so we've had to build fish ponds where there's culverts. Some of the bureaucracy and the red tape has made our expenses go up exponentially.
Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
Markets going down today. The TSX dropped by 234 points, while the Dow Jones dropped by 398 points. As for the Canadian dollar, it also dropped 0.04 of a cent to 70.84 cents U.S. On the commodity front, gold down $2.37. West Texas Intermediate crude down 12 cents. Western Canadian Select crude went down $1.12 per barrel. So, likely not going to see any movement in gas, and that's the way it is. It is currently sitting at most places, if not all, for $1.28.9 cents per liter.
Retailer reported lower profit for its third quarter. Canadian Tire blames restructuring and other costs for the drop. The company's renovating stores and reorganizing its business, but sales were up at two other retail businesses it owns, Sport Chek and Mark's. Shares of Canada Goose did a nosedive today after the Parka maker reported earnings. Shares slipped at one point, almost down 18%, on news of a $15 million loss in the second quarter. The company's been spending more on hiring and marketing as it gets set for the crucial holiday season. Bombardier reported $2.3 billion in revenue for its latest quarter. The airplane maker says there's high demand for private planes. It delivered 34 aircraft during its latest quarter, 4 more than it did in the same period last year. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
The newscast, Hell's Kitchen, followed by 911 Nashville, Grey's Anatomy, Georgia Mandy's First Marriage, E-Talk, and, of course, your news. Gainer the Gopher joined Premier Scott Moe for a special announcement this morning.
Tomorrow, November 7th, has been proclaimed Green and White Day. Saskatchewan residents are encouraged to wear green and white to cheer on the Rough Riders, who are playing the BC Lions in the Western Final on Saturday at Mosaic Stadium. Following the announcement, there was a flag raising outside the Legislative Building. Look at that.
We can do our part as Saskatchewan residents by, really showing our support not only for our Rough Riders but for the CFL, but showing our support as well for a victorious game and a winning game for our team on Sunday.
The winner of Saturday's game will advance to the Grey Cup in Winnipeg on Sunday, November 16th. Riders have not made the big game since 2013.
You know what happened then? They won.
All right, well, I would consider this a mascot for Christmas, an unofficial mascot for Christmas. Will Ferrell's elf, the costume that he wore, is going up for auction just in time for the holiday season.
Yeah, the Buddy the Elf get-up, not going for cheap, expected to go as much as $264,000, maybe some less, maybe some more. The bidding will take place in December as part of Prop Store's Winter Entertainment Memorabilia live auction in London. More than 1,000 other items will be up for auction, expecting to rake in more than $10 million. You would want that elf.
Or maybe less or maybe more.
Maybe less or maybe more. Do you want that elf costume?
No.
Why not?
I don't have that kind of money.
You think you do.